Hey guys, this is Control or Jesse here, and today I'm going to be going over Lovely Chook's Chinese Tempo Mage list. And it is called the Chinese Tempo Mage list because it does feature Ice Block, something very common on the Chinese servers, not so much on NA, so it's just something a little bit different, so I thought I would make a in-depth guide. Okay, so a lot of people see Tempo Mage, but they don't really understand what Tempo is. And here I'm going to try and explain what that is for you guys. Hopefully I do an alright job. We're going to use the common example of a leper gnome here and the mage ping. So we're going to start turn 1 and just pass. Turn 1 for our opponent, he's going to play the leper gnome and then pass. Then turn 2, we're going to answer it by just using Fire Blast or ping to clear it. So what this does is it gives us a value trade. We just got to use ping, we don't have to use any cards to clear it. So we gain value from that, but we lose tempo because we don't develop anything. This allows our opponent on turn 2 to develop a minion and gain tempo because we have to answer his play by backpedaling and say use something like a Frostbolt on turn 3 to remove it, and we wouldn't develop anything in that scenario. So then on turn 3 he just gets to go and seize tempo again and play another minion. Okay, now that we understand what tempo is, we can go over why I think you should play Tempo Mage. Maybe why you shouldn't too with a few cons, but I think there's more pros. So the first one is tempo, we just went over that. This deck seizes it quite easily. With cards like Sorcerer's Apprentice and Arcane Blast, you just remove whatever they play and develop something. Make them answer what you do. Next is the fast games. So if you have an aggressive start with Mana Worm into a 2-drop into Flamewaker, you can usually close the game out quite quickly. Next is you can win late game. So with cards like Yogg, they give you a way to win. I mean, it's not guaranteed to win late game, but you can win later on against control-y decks, even mid-rangey ones. Next is its favorable versus tier 1 decks. We have good win rates against Temple Warrior and Aggressive Shaman. The cons though, it is relatively inconsistent. If you don't draw into cards that you need, you have lots of cards that aren't too great on their own, such as Arcane Missiles. Next it is RNG heavy with the Flamemaker and the Yogg surround in the deck, and cards that synergize it with like Arcane Missiles. You do need to get favorable pings to do well with this deck in most cases. And lastly, another big con is Zoo, also mid-range hunter. 2 decks of this deck struggles with quite a bit. We only have about a 40% win rate against them. Being quite popular, it is unfortunate queuing into them. Next is the deck list. In order to create this deck, you need 7,360 dust. In addition to that, you do need at least Wing for Blackrock Mountain for the Flamewakers. Very, very core card with this deck. I would not suggest playing without Flamewaker. And Wing 1 of LOE will give you the Forgotten Torch. However, you can sub in another card for that if you don't have it. Frostbolt is a source of early removal for us. It also synergizes well with cards like Sorcerer's Apprentice. You can play them in conjunction on turn 3 and just go Frostbolt face against a weapon class like Warrior or Hunter to deny the Eagle Hornbow or the Fiery War Axe. So that's a very good combination. It can also be used against bigger threats like Shaman's Doctor 4 to stall them for a turn to draw into better removal to clear it. Next, Sorcerer's Apprentice, just a very strong overall card in the deck. Decreasing spells cost by 1 is pretty huge in a deck like this. It runs 6 1-mana spells, so you can get them for free. Playing that turn 2 into a Flamemaker with cheap spells usually seals victories for us. Next is Arcane Intellect. So this card overall is a tempo loss, but it's a card gain, and without it, this deck will run out of steam too fast. So we do include it. We can also get it discounted again with a Sorcerer's Apprentice, so it's not that bad. It's also just another spell to synergize with Flamemaker, Mana Worm, stuff. Mirror Image is a card that people criminally underrate. If you don't understand how Tempo Mage works too well, you don't understand the synergies the card brings, and you just look at it by itself. By itself, I do agree that it is weak. 1 mana summon 2/0/2 minion with taunt sounds like a noob trap. But when you can synergize it with cards like Mana Worm, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and Flamemaker, it's actually very good. By protecting your minions and getting the abilities off of cards like Mana Worm and Flamemaker, it's very good. Next up is Blood Mage Thalnos. While an underwhelming body, the spell power kind of makes up for it. It allows you to have great synergy with Arcane Blast and to cycle a card with its Death Rattle, so it's quite good. Next is Cult Sorcerer. Again, while often played as a vanilla 3/2, it's good with the potential to get the spell damage off, get that 4 damage Arcane Blast on the Totem Golem, so it's quite a good card. Flamemaker is also a good card in this deck. It's very core to it. It's definitely what the deck is built around. Just the synergy with the Flamemaker's ability allows you to run all these cheap spells and not feel bad about it. This card, if played on turn 3 with a cheap spell, can usually just snowball victories for you, and it definitely acts as a card that your opponent has to remove as soon as possible. Forgotten Torch is an interesting card in the deck. 3 mana deal 3 damage isn't too great, but shuffling a 3 mana Fireball in your deck is great, so we're happy about that. It's good in longer matchups, and it also acts as face damage as well, so it's a good versatile card. We're happy to run one of it in the deck. Next up is Ice Block, and this is what sets this deck apart from regular Temple Mage lists. It just improves our matchup against the aggressive decks that are on ladder. Against Zoo, it can help us just stabilize for one more turn, look for that Flame Strike, or just a draw for lethal against more mid-rangey decks. And it isn't that useful against decks like Control Warrior, as if you're playing for the long game, it'll likely go to Fatigue, and they'll just try and burn you out. And Ice Block will not help you at all in that scenario, as you will just fatigue through. Fireball is a very, very versatile mage card, so it can deal with cards like Bloodhoof Brave or Twilight Guardian. Overall, it's just very good. It also acts as 6 damage face if you're trying to push. Next up, Azure Drake. Very, very solid minion. Definitely one of the best neutrals in the game, in my opinion. 5 mana, 4/4, +1 spell damage, and draw a card. Seems quite good to me, and I'm very, very happy to run 2 of them in this list. The synergy with the Arcane Blast is phenomenal as well. Turn 6, you can clear their Azure Drake, as I did in the video versus Firebat, if you guys check that out. Next minion, is Harrison Jones. So this card is great, but only in a weapon-heavy meta. So against decks like Warrior and Shaman, classes like Warrior and Shaman, it's quite good, as it gives you a way to deal with their War Axe and the Doomhammer. Cabalist is a great card in this deck because it allows you to get the cards you need when you need them. Although you do need to get a little bit lucky, you can discover things like a Frost Nova on turn 8 when you need it to protect your board and then push for lethal, or just to protect yourself from dying next turn. Flame Strike is also a very solid card in this deck. I like the 1 of a Flame Strike. I would not recommend running 2. It's just a dead draw in some matchups, but against others like Hunter and Rogue, you're very happy to draw into it. It deals with the Concealed Gadgetzan and Call of the Wild. And lastly, Yogg-Saron. Definitely a key card in this deck. Very interesting. The card acts, with a lot of spells used, it acts as a board clear, a way to draw cards, and a way to play secrets for free. So I definitely think it's a great card, and I would highly recommend it in this list. Okay, so next up is a Mulligan. This isn't too difficult. Really what you're looking for when you're going first is the 3 solid minions in the early game. The Mana Worm, the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and the Cult Sorcerer. And if you have at least one of those, you should be fine to keep the spells listed below. The only exception to that is Cult Sorcerer and Mirror Image. Those 2 cards don't synergize too well together, so I wouldn't suggest keeping them. So going second is very, very similar to going first, except for you keep Flamemaker as well. And also a higher priority is put on the spells when you go second, as if you do have Flamemaker, that is, as they do synergize very, very well together. So even like a hand like Flamemaker, Arcane Missiles, Mirror Image, and then say one other card, I just throw away the one other card. Say the other card is like an Azure Drake, I just throw the Azure Drake away and keep the Flamemaker, Mirror Image, and Arcane Missiles, and I'd be happy with that. Very solid turn 3 play. You play Flamemaker, coin Mirror Image, and the follow up with the Arcane Missiles to clear whatever they. And again with the Flame Strike, so if you're going second, you have a bad hand, you're going to throw everything away, but within that hand is a Flame Strike. I would suggest keeping it, but only if you're against Rogues or Hunters, just to deal with the Concealed Auctioneer and Call of the Wild. Now we're going to talk about the synergy a little bit. So Mana Worm, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and Flamemaker all synergize well with the cheap spells you want to keep in your starting hand. So they either all their effects snowball with it. So Mana Worm just increasingly gets more attack, Flamemaker gets the extra spells off, and Sorcerer's Apprentice aids with those 2 cards and increasing the amount of time it takes for them to pop off. Next up, we have Blood Mage Thalnos, Cult Sorcerer, and Azure Drake. They synergize with the spells that deal damage, especially Arcane Blast, gaining double bonus from spell damage. It's quite a good card. You have any of those spell damage cards, you can deal with the Totem Golem, so it's a very, very strong way to deal with it with the Arcane Blast as well. Continuing on with synergy, we have Yogg-Saron and Cabalist. So Cabalist, using both of them, gives you 8 spells, so that gives us a lot of synergy with Yogg. Yogg also synergizes, of course, with all the other spells in our deck. And lastly, as far as synergy goes, we have Harrison Jones. Harrison Jones synergizes very well with a weapon-filled meta, so you use him against a warrior that has the Fiery Wind Axe, or a Shaman with a Doomhammer, and it gives you a huge tempo swing. Attacking with this deck, I would say remove Harrison Jones if you're not in a weapon-filled meta. So if you're not playing against a lot of shamans or warriors, hunters, or rogues, I would suggest dropping Harrison Jones and putting in a Faceless Summoner or Ethereal Conjurer. Personally, I would use Ethereal Conjurer just to be able to discover whatever spell you need to get and for more Yogg synergy. But if you prefer a more minion-centered gameplay strategy, then go for the Faceless Summoner. And in a control-heavy meta, I would suggest taking out Mirror Image and taking in Archmage Antonidas just to increase your win rate against the control decks and have another win. So to begin the matchup section, I'm just going to say that we only have about 240 games, so these win rates aren't super accurate. I think we would need about 1,000 games played with this deck to be able to say that these are, relatively accurate win rates. But right now, they're a little bit polarized. So starting off, Druid's about a 50-50. That seems right to me. Next up is the mid-range Hunter. I think it's closer to a 40-60 matchup, so still very unfavored. Next up is Mage. So we have about a 60% win rate. It's probably closer to 55. Then after that, we have Paladin. Again, this should be a little bit lower. Sample size isn't huge against Paladins, but we're about 85% win rate against N'Zoth and the aggressive Paladin list right now. Next up is Priest. So we played about 5 games. We won them all. Again, that'll drop significantly when we play a lot more games against them. And against Rogue, sorry it's not too legible, but our win rate against them is 73% so far. And I think that's largely in part to aggressive starts and the Flame Strike to answer the Gadgesan. Next up is Shaman. It's about a 50-50. The aggressive lists were a little bit more favored against, and the mid-range list were a little bit less favored against. Then next is Zoolock, so it's about a 40-60. We've queued into 1 Reno Lock, I believe, so not a large portion of the latter. Definitely when you play against Warlocks, always assume there's Zoo. And lastly is Warrior. So it's mostly Tempo, Cthulhu, and Control, a little bit of Pirate thrown in there. Our win rate is best against Tempo Warrior, and worst against Cthulhu and Control Warrior. And here are the matchups with the current Chinese Tempo Mage list. So this is a lovely Chuksa list again. So relatively the same, but again, only 40 games, so not much can be taken away from it. But again, here are the matchups. So we're doing favorably against Paladin, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. And we're doing poorly against Druid, Hunter, and I do have 2 gameplay videos for you guys. Just the first one to show how our God Hand plays out. So we get the best draws possible, we just play out fast, we win the game very handily. The next game is a game where we play more control-y. We stabilize with a Flame Strike and end up winning against an aggressive Shaman list. And again, I do have Let's Play series. I'll be continuing it for a while with the daily uploads with gameplay from this deck. And I will link the Control vs Firebat video. Again, one that blew up a few days ago against Firebat, playing this exact list. Okay, so against our boy Batman here, we are looking to keep the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the Arcane Blast. We would really like to get a Mana Worm here, or a Flame Waker. Okay. Nice. So we do have to flame. We can Mana Worm, coin Arcane Blast. Yeah, that seems fine. Very strong tempo play here. Again, we are losing out on the Flamewaker synergy, but having a 3-3 turn 1 dealing with their 3-2 is huge. Very, very well predicted. You're right, Ruku. And yeah, Cat's Bollocks, man. You can't win them all, dude. You can try your best, but you can't, unfortunately. Okay, so we just go face. Yeah, Hearthstone is kind of an unfortunate game, man. I mean, like, I don't know if you guys watched the video with Firebat, but this guy was just saying that even pros only have like 60-65% win rate. So playing in tournaments isn't even viable. It really sucks to hear. Phenomenal draws here. So we're going to Arcane Blast here first, just to guarantee that dies. Then we're going to Missiles. Okay, guys, so we're getting kind of lucky this game. Kind of like really lucky. So we don't have a turn 4 play, unfortunately, but we are stomping on the Zoolock, which feels really good, man. Really, really good. And again, this is comparable to this deck's like God Draw, really. Yeah, so turn 1, Mana Worm, coin, Arcane Blast. Into turn 2, Sorcerer. Into turn 3, Flamewaker. Just a God Draw. Okay, so against Shaman, I generally like to keep Arcane Blast, but we can't really do that in this scenario. It's just not good enough without any minions to synergize with it. He did keep 3 cards as well, so we really need to get lucky here. We need to get a Spell Power minion and another Arcane Blast. Okay, that's honestly double Mana Worm's fine. We have a lot of good draws with that. Azure Drake isn't one of them. But having this alone means that we can draw into an Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles, or Frostbolt, and be able to deal with the Tunnel Trogger Totem Golem. Argent's fine. Perfectly happy with that. We do this. We just play the second one, then we attack in. Popping the Divine Shield means that he can't just Evusive it and trade in, which is quite huge for us. And that also wasn't one of the cards that he kept off of the Mulligan. So I am quite afraid of what he has in his hand right now. We're really worried, pretty scared of what he has. We will see what he does though. So Totem Golem, I mean, what else do you keep if you keep 3 cards? What I would think is the best hand for a Shaman to start off with would be like, on coin maybe, oh okay, Flame Tank's fine. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just ruined my train of thought there. We really want to remove this, but I think we're fine just Arcane Intellecting and attacking in. Assuming he has the Feral Spirits next turn, it means that we can just ping this and then Arcane Missiles and trade in with 1. So I think we're okay with that. Forgotten Torch is good as well. Yeah, so we do that. Next turn we can Forgotten Torch, Arcane Missiles, and then likely clear his board. Put him on Overload too. In the other scenario that he does have Dr. 4, the coin Dr. 4, we're in a bad spot here. But you can't play around absolutely every... Oh my... Did he get second flame? Okay, no. That's equally as bad. Come on, man. Really, it's a 3 out of 4 with this card. A 3 out of 7, sorry. But when your opponent wins those, it always feels bad. So we can Forgotten Torch there. No, this needs to be dead this turn, right? So we want to ping there. We could just Blood Mage. Double Arcane Missiles. We don't have anything to synergize it with this card other than the Mana Worm. So 8 pings in most cases is enough to clear this board. So I think we're okay with that. Okay, we need to get lucky here. Okay, good. So unfortunately his 3-1 is not cleared. That puts us in a bad spot here. But it means we do have tempo because he is going to make this trade here. We're happy with him making trades. I don't think in any scenario that was a mistake. Just because we can just ping it, so it's not too big of a deal. What 5-drop do they have? The... Oh, Doomhammer, okay. So yeah, we're looking for Harrison now. We do have 2 draws with the Blood Mage as well. Yog's not what we're looking for here. Cabalist isn't what we're looking for here either. We can ping Forgotten Torch, put another Fireball in our deck. We really just want this dead for now. Doing this does mean it's less likely to draw the Harrison. I think we're fine doing it though. Whatever he plays this turn, we're looking to set up to Flame Strike with. We really just want to stabilize now. Okay. And then the Argent as well. Quite a strong turn from him. If we ping it, he's going to know we want to use the Flame Strike. Fireball is good. I don't think we want to just Fireball though. So I think we will Azure Drake here. Arcane Blast is the best draw. Okay. Cabalist is somewhat dead here. We don't want to play it until later turns or unless we have a Sorcerer's Apprentice. In this case, him using a burn spell on that is the worst. So we're hoping he doesn't trade that into it. If he trades both of that, yeah, we just want him to go face here, really. That's phenomenally good for us. So most of the time we win against Shamans, the more mid-rangey lists at least, it is usually off of Flame Strike value when they get greedy like this. So yeah, we're perfectly fine just doing that and then going face. We go face here because it puts him at 11. We have the Fireball for 6 damage minimum here. So it means that drawing into our second Fireball or Roaring Torch does put us to lethal. Again, it's not, the odds aren't too good. It's just 2 out of 17. But it's an aggressive play and it makes him want to answer it. We do get punished by double Rockbiter. What does he have for Lightning Bolt? Lightning Bolt attack in. That's fine. So another thing about doing that is I was fine if he played the Dr. 4 just because we do have Mirror Image here. And we do have lethal. Okay. Yeah, no, we have 9, 10. We're all 1 off, sorry. So we can Cabalist here. Cabalist, Frostbolt, Mirror Image. Yeah, so I think we're fine doing that. Alternatively, we could have just pinged again. But I think we're fine doing this. Yeah, we're dead to like almost nothing. He needs to lightning storm. He needs to lightning storm here. And we do have the ice block, so that's why we're okay doing this. Rather than just freezing the 7/7 or trying to deal with it. Nice, Light Lord, that's good. Okay, yeah, so we do have the follow-up Flame Strike, but not that it really matters here. We're looking just for another Frostbolt, Fireball, Roaring Torch. Do we want to draw here? I don't know if we do. What are we dead to? Honestly, we can just Ice Block, ping his face. Like, these kind of decks don't run healing, so I think we're okay doing that. We could draw a little bit deeper, see what we draw into. Flamemaker, Ice Block. I mean, it's something. No, that doesn't. Sorry, I'm just thinking incorrectly right now. So we do Ice Block, and then we ping face. So he has 7, 11. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter what we do. I was thinking about Arcane Blasting the 1/1. Makes absolutely no difference though. So yeah, this should be well played. Okay. Well played is right, my man. I don't know. Just gotta stomp on the dirty aggro shamans, guys. And BM Yogging is always an option here. But I think we're gonna go for the victory here. Should be good. Just a disgusting board. Yeah, I'm not even, and then we draw the second fireball, so we're just gonna do this thing. Good game. Yeah, so Flame Strike is very key in this matchup. Very, very good. I'm glad he overextended. So I hope you guys enjoy those games. I know I did enjoy playing them. So just to finish off the video, we're gonna conclude everything we did by going over everything that we talked about yet again. So to begin, we talked about tempo and then why play Tempo Mage. Next, we talked about the deck list and then each card individually in the list. Then we talked about tech that you could possibly make. Then into Mulligan, just what cards to choose when you play the game. Then synergy between different cards. Next, matchups, so how the deck fares against different classes and their individual decks. And then we showed some gameplay to you guys. And now we're here, concluding it. So if you guys did like the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Check me out on Twitch and follow me on Twitter. Thank you guys very much, and I'm just going to talk about a little bit about me. And lastly, just a little bit about me. So I've got Legend 10 plus times, so I just figure after I can't count anymore with my hands, there's no reason to. Just know that I've got it consistently whenever I tried to get it. So I think I'm okay at the game. I do have over 300 games with Tempo Mage across Standard and Wild, including Wild probably close to 400. So I'm kind of familiar with the deck. There are obviously people out there who are better than me, but I figure that I somewhat know how to pilot it well. And again, I do stream on Twitch at the link here. It will be in the description too. And I do daily YouTube uploads, sometimes 2 a day. Right now, I am doing daily uploads about the Chinese Tempo Mage, so just a Let's Play series with this deck, just games from my stream. And I will try to do weekly PowerPoint videos in this style. Videos similar to this, maybe not just on topics with deck, but similar to one, maybe like how to get rank 5. And again, if you guys are finished this video and you're having troubles climbing, or you'd like to climb with it and you're a lower rank, I would definitely recommend checking out my How to Get Rank 5 video. Again, I will have an annotation with that here at the end, so you guys can check that out if you haven't already, because I think that it will help you in the climb there if you haven't gotten there before, or even if you have and you're trying to climb a little bit higher and you like some tips. So again, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Feel free to leave any feedback, positive, negative, neutral. I don't mind. I read every comment and I will reply to all of them. So thank you guys very much for checking this out. Have a great morning, afternoon, or evening.